Hi, are you guys thinking about going to Disney World and are thinking about staying in a moderate resort?
If you are, come on in. We're going to tell you all about it. Hey guys, it's Cara and Mark from Wondervault, where we unlock the geek universe and share our insider tips, reviews, and collectibles. Today is another episode of our Weather Plan series, where we help you plan a wonderful, magical Disney vacation.
This episode is about moderate resorts.
That's right. There are 5 moderate resorts at Walt Disney World. If you're not sure what a moderate resort is, we did a video previously about what the different categories are. We'll put the link up here. You can click it and check it out. But today we're going to dive deeper into the different moderate resorts, what the differences are, what's good about them, what's bad about them, and where you want to stay.
All right, so let's start with the 5. You have Caribbean Beach, Port Orleans Riverside, Port Orleans French Quarter,
Coronado Springs, and the cabins at Fort Wilderness.
So the ones that we have stayed at previously, we've stayed at Caribbean Beach, Port Orleans, Riverside. So the first one we'll talk about is Caribbean Beach. What were your thoughts when we stayed at Caribbean Beach?
Well, it's very appropriate that we're talking about this today because we stayed at Caribbean Beach on our honeymoon and it's actually our wedding anniversary. So congratulations to us. The reason I chose Caribbean Beach the first time we went was because it was a moderate resort. I think the moderate resorts are in that Goldilocks zone. It's not too hot, not too cold, that you're getting a great level of amenity, but it's not too expensive. So that was the first decision that we made, that we knew we wanted to stay at a moderate resort. And then basically I chose the one with the theme that appealed to me the most. And I loved the look of Caribbean Beach. It's got these beautiful candy colors. The different unit sort of blocks are pink and teal and yellow. And it had like a Caribbean flavors at the restaurant. And I just thought that that was a good choice and I was not disappointed. We have some beautiful photos of the lake in the middle of the resort and when the sun's coming up and the water was still and it was beautiful and I loved it.
Yeah, and but since we last went to the Caribbean Beach, they have done some major upgrades. So they have a new restaurant that we haven't tried before.
That's true.
New sit-down restaurant. They've upgraded the quick service facilities that they have there.
That's right. I think they completely demolished the buildings that were there before that had the shop, reception, and the restaurant. So all those things that we have photos of don't exist anymore.
I know. Oh.
And that's okay.
We'll get to go again. It'll be a brand new experience.
That's right. Another new thing about Caribbean Beach is that it's also connected to Disney's Skyliner, which is the gondola system that's going to be opening in the next couple of months that connects a couple of different resorts directly to Epcot and directly to Hollywood Studios.
And with that, the Caribbean Beach will be used as a junction between all of them. So every Skyliner will then go to Caribbean Beach. You'll get off like you do at the Ticketing and Transportation Center at the Magic Kingdom, and then you will get on another tram line, Skyliner line, and then you will go to Hollywood Studios, or you'll go towards Epcot and the other resorts, or the other way. I think there's 4 routes.
So that'll be good. It'll improve the transportation options for Caribbean Beach, but it'll probably bump the price up a little bit, I would imagine. So the next moderate resort that we're going to talk about is Port Orleans Riverside. So we've stayed there and our friends have stayed there and had really, really good experiences. The theming is really interesting in that different pieces of the resort have a different theme. So we stayed in the sort of
white mansion
style.
Yeah.
We stayed in a princess room, which I will explain in a minute, but there's actually another section of the resort which is sort of like swamp themed, and that didn't really appeal to me, but our friends stayed there and they thought it was amazing. They said that the theming was sort of like alligator bayou, and that they would definitely stay there again as well. Being a moderate, you also have a sit-down restaurant that had some really great food, like...
Definitely recommend the jambalaya and also the French onion soup.
Amazing French onion soup with the cheese crust on the top. So good, so good. And it also has your quick service food court type arrangement as well.
Which gives you your general burgers and sandwiches and pizzas and hot dogs, etc., etc. It has all the basic stuff that you get from a grab-and-go sort of situation.
That's right. The other fantastic thing about Port Orleans is that it has the ferry system. It's connected directly by ferry to Disney Springs. So you can still take a bus to Disney Springs if you want, and you can take a bus to the other parks and connect you to the other resorts, but you can just hop on this ferry that's directly at the resort and take this lovely little boat ride down to Disney Springs, and that's quite an enjoyable thing to do, and not when it's raining or blistering hot though, however, so that is a weather dependent kind of option, but it's nice to have another option to travel around to split the crowds so that the buses and the ferry are less busy than they would be if there was just one option.
That is correct, yes. So with Riverside and its proximity to other resorts, just a few steps away really, it's not far, it's only a few minutes walk, is New Orleans French Quarter, which has that French Quarter feel. Obviously it's in the name, but they have some really great stuff at this resort. Hot tip, if you need beignets, that's the place to go. But the rooms itself obviously are styled in the French Quarter theme. They are about the same price as the Riverside, so you're not actually getting any different pricing between the two resorts, but there is one drawback, and that is that French Quarter has, on the bus system, they usually last to be picked up or dropped off.
Yeah, so what Mark means by that is that there's a single bus for the two Port Orleans resorts, coming from the parks or Disney Springs or whatever. And depending on the route, it'll pick you up from the park, come through Port Orleans Riverside, and then go to French Quarter, and then around again. Or if it's a different route, it'll come the opposite direction. And so that can be a little bit of a pain if you're getting on a bus that is busy, or if you're wanting to get home and you're the last stop on the route. But it's good in that you do have that quick access to both resorts if you're wanting some different food options.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend staying at these resorts, primarily the Riverside. I found that to be the most enjoyable of the moderates that we looked into. Definitely want to stay in a Riverside Princess Room Suite if you've got small children, primarily girls. They will love it. Why will they love it, Cara?
Okay.
Why did you love it?
I loved it. So, we need to talk about the Princess Room. It was amazing. It's more expensive, so let's just put it out there. It was more expensive. Okay, so the theme of the Princess Room is, it's not themed princess that you would imagine, say, like lots of pink or anything like that. It's still New Orleans type mansion theme, but it's like the Disney princesses have stayed there. So the theming is meant to be, so Tiana has stayed there and she's left you a note, and Jasmine has stayed there and the magic carpet has stayed behind, and around the edge of the room is little pictures, hidden, sort of, not hidden Mickeys, but sort of like lamps and shoes and things. The tap is a magic lamp and the shower curtain is thingamabobs, and it was wonderful, so beautiful. And they have this thing behind the bed that lights up like fireworks. I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I didn't care that it was more expensive. It was wonderful.
It was worth it in the end. I mean, just to see Kara's face when we walked in, it was worth it. I like to please her, so...
I'm very lucky. It was great. Speaking of special rooms, they also have a special room at Caribbean Beach. They have a pirate room, and we haven't stayed there, but the pictures look fantastic. It's like a pirate bed with like treasure sort of patterns and just beautiful pirate theming at Caribbean Beach, which makes perfect sense. So they have these special rooms that are certainly worth a look. So the fourth moderate resort at Walt Disney World is Coronado Springs. Unfortunately, we haven't stayed there and we don't know anyone who's stayed there, but we can tell you that the theming is meant to be sort of Spanish explorers, artists, writers, that kind of thing. It's basically around the same price points as French Quarter and Riverside, and it's had a lot of renovation over the last couple of years because they're building a new resort, the Riviera, I think it's called,
yes, it is.
Beside this resort. They've completely reimagined the entryway and all of that, major construction. So to be brutally honest, the reason that we haven't stayed there is that I've heard terrible reviews about the food. Like I said, we haven't stayed there, we haven't been there, we can't comment for ourselves, but if you're interested in this theme, maybe do a little bit of research before you go. Have a look about the reviews about the food and how it's going now that it's been newly refurbished.
And also, on the other hand, if you have been there recently and have had a really positive experience with both the resort and the dining options, please let us know so we can maybe potentially go there and update our information.
Yeah. Okay, so the final resort in the moderate category is the cabins at Fort Wilderness Resort. So this one is a little bit different in that they are cabins. They're not just rooms, they're cabins designed for family groups. So you've got multiple bedrooms, a living area, sometimes a kitchen. It is probably a really good option for people who are traveling in family groups. So if we took the grandparents or whatever, because they're only a little bit more expensive than your moderate rooms, but obviously you can have 4 or 6 adults to all contribute and bring down the price.
The way they categorize it is that they rough it in comfort.
That's right. So it's sort of like a forest, wilderness, Davy...
off the beaten track sort of environment.
Yeah, who's that guy with the hat and the...
Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett, that kind of feeling. I think they have like campfires and small roasting and things like that. It's not for me, but I totally understand how it's for some people. We have a friend who stayed there and who loves it and keeps trying to convince us to go back and stay there with him. And, you know, we'll consider it one day, maybe.
One of the highlights that at the cabins is the Hoop-de-Doo
musical
review. I've heard good things. Be warned, there is audience participation, so if you do go to one, expect to be pulled up on stage, because it might well happen.
That's right. So my understanding is that it's like a dinner show, cabaret kind of thing, where there's singing and dancing and audience participation, and you get served in, I think, family style, where they bring you like, I think it's a bucket of fried chicken and corn and sweetbread and things like that, in that wilderness, Davy Crockett kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And so if that's a theme that appeals to you, and if you're traveling in a slightly larger group, I would definitely consider staying at the cabins. It's in the Magic Kingdom area, so it's closer to the Magic Kingdom, and it also, in addition to the buses, it has the ferry access to the Magic Kingdom.
That's correct.
So that's an added benefit if this kind of option would suit your family.
All right, so those are the 5 resorts that are in the moderate category. We have to say that our favorite is the Port Orleans Riverside, both for its transportation options and also the food and
the princess room.
And the princess room. So those are our thoughts on the moderate resorts. Hopefully you agree, and if you don't agree, please feel free to write us a comment down below. We'll get back to you. And yeah, please like and subscribe. And next video will be on deluxe resorts.
Ooh, fancy. That's right, we're going to dive into the deluxe category to show you the kinds of themes and what is the extra perks that you are getting by staying at a resort. So tune in next time here on Wonderful. See ya.
Bye.